All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We've got our guest expert interview, Kimberly Guiry, our KW Wellness Community Leader here to talk about wellness in the workplace. So, Kimberly, welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to talk about wellness in the workplace, especially as it's connected to talent, right? We want to take care of our people, take care of our agents, and ensure our teams are being poured into at a high level.
I think it's such a crucial thing right now. And for these expert interviews, it just so happens, right? Today is the last day of the month, and next month is what, Wellness Awareness Month for wellness in the workplace.
That's right. It is National Employee Well-being, and we're modifying a bit since many of our teams don't have employees, and we're calling it Well-being at Work Month.
Well, it's one of those things that we look at, and especially right now in real estate, right? The market's hard for some folks, right? They're burning the candle at both ends. We're in a shift, we're maximizing, we're taking market share. We're doing a lot right now. And people are getting tired, they're getting burnt, and they're kind of forgetting sometimes about the wellness. And I think that's one of the things that was so important of why we put this as our first expert interview for that is not only did it coincidentally lovely coordinate with June being well-being at work, it's something that people tend to forget. We can get really focused on the work aspect. Am I hitting my numbers? Am I moving my goals forward? And we can forget about wellness. So I'm going to hand it over to you. We'll go interview style here. We'll be 15, 20 minutes for those of you watching and in attendance. And let's take it away for 5 tips for wellness at work.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, as we mentioned, June is National Employee Wellness Month, and it is also for us at KW Wellness, it is Well-being at Work Month. And so what we're going to do today is take a look at 5 wellness tips that can support well-being in the workplace, not just for market center leadership. This also applies to teams. And it doesn't have to be a large team. You can be a solo agent and utilize these tips, and it works all the way up until leadership level. So what are our 5 wellness tips? We're going to focus on 5 of the pillars that we speak to in wellness: mental, physical, social, financial, and community. What is mental? Well, mental is also our mindset. And we look at this as maintaining wellness via balance. Really maintaining balance. It encourages your mental health and reduces stress and fosters enhanced creativity and problem-solving abilities. So how does well-being attach to mental health? Well, when we think about work, Liz identified it. This is a tough market. This is a stressful time for many people in real estate. And we want to ensure that we're taking care of ourselves and managing stress, overwhelm, burnout, anxiety, and even sometimes those moments where we might be feeling somewhat depressed about where our business is or what the market is doing. So how do we support our wellness when it focuses on our mental health? One is mindset. Be sure that you are tapping into mindset resources. We've got great resources inside of MAPS community. We've got a great resource called MME, which is a Monday Mindset Motivation and Energy Call, which is open to all KW associates. There's apps that you can download for meditation. There's books that you can read to pour back into your mental health. We've got the One Thing community as well. We want to find sources where you can tap into pouring back into yourself to allow yourself the time and the space. It's a gift. It is a gift and a conscious effort to put yourself on the calendar. So tip number 1, find ways to reduce stress. Find ways to pour into your mindset. Work with a coach, a mental coach, a mindset coach. Talk to a therapist. Seek resources that are going to help maintain an outlook that's going to support you in the workplace. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to say it's not okay or you're having a bad day. Those around you will be able to then support you to help lift you up in those moments where you may not be feeling 100% yourself.
Kimberly, what do you find as a best practice? So let's say I am the team lead, or I am the broker of the office, or simply a caring team member. What do you feel the best way to approach somebody to make sure that they're getting that balance or counterbalance in their world in that mental personal time? What's the best way to approach that with somebody or discuss it with?
That's a great question. In the 411s, your weekly 411s, it's just a check-in. What did you do this weekend? That wasn't about business. Where are you showing up on the schedule? What are you reading this week? Who are you surrounding yourself by? Right? It is a check-in. And we have the tool, the 411, that we can utilize each week to check in on our people and see, are they taking care of themselves? And if not, as a leader, we have the opportunity to coach them into helping to see the value in creating the 411 and having it not just speak to the business, also speak to the personal.
I think that's such an important aspect to look at there. Something as simple as the 411, a tool we already use, allows us to do that. And it's important to know that one of the number one requests we get when we're coaches, right, for our 411s is, I don't need that part of the personal side on there. Let's just take that off. Can we just use the one that doesn't have that? This is a clear sign that we need to keep that on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look at how Gary even tells us how we build our calendar. We put ourselves on the calendar first. We time block our vacations, right? We time block our family time. We time block any kind of special event that's important to us. And then we build our business around it. We are in business with ourselves. How are we ensuring that we're protecting ourselves and building business around us and not the other way around?
Perfect.
The second tip is physical. And physical has proven to be one of the best ways to manage stress, burnout, and mindset. Not only does exercise strengthen your body, it also fuels your soul, which means it helps keeps us connected to who we actually naturally are. It increases endorphins and it increases dopamine, which are those happy, feel good neurotransmitters to our brain. And it keeps us in a state of mind that reminds us that anything is possible. It keeps our motivation high and it drives us closer to more of what we want and less of what we don't want. The physical, often people think, oh, it's just to look good, right? Or to be a different size or be a different weight. There's far more value to physical exercise than the external. It's really what's happening internally at a biological and cellular level that helps to benefit your well-being. Nutrition is also a part of physical care. Our diet and our dietary choices impact our well-being. How many of us rush out of the morning without breakfast? Or we consider coffee breakfast. And then noon hits and you might have an oversized lunch to compensate because now you're starving. And then you get that midday slump. And we grab for something sugary or another cup of coffee to lift us right back up. End of the day comes, well, you just left an appointment and now you're grabbing fast food. It's late, you're working till midnight, and the cycle repeats over and over and over. We want to think of nutrition as a fueling source. And the cleaner the fuel, the better the outcome. The more managed we are with how we choose when to eat, be it first thing or midday, a sensible balanced lunch, and an early enough dinner to allow it to digest so we can have a good night's sleep. All of this participates into our well-being and it sets us up for success for the next day.
I was at a leadership academy out in Austin. Gosh, was that last week or the week before? I can't even remember at this point. However, I was there in the last few weeks.
You've been a lot of places, Liz.
It's been a long few weeks. Gary was talking about, health and wellness and diet in particular, about how he eats a certain way so that he can maintain his energy working hard, very, very focused days, right? We know Gary Keller has very focused, very hard days when he works. It's very particular that he respects his calendar of what are working hours and what are not. Yet when he's on point, he's very purposeful and he's incredibly mentally focused on those things. But he said something funny. He said, "You'll notice that as people begin to surround me, they all seem to get a little bit thinner. They all seem to stand a little bit taller. They all seem to just look and feel a little bit better because it's a conversation he never stops having." And it's not that he tells them they have to do something. He doesn't tell them they have to eat away. He doesn't tell them they have to go to the gym. But because it is something that he embodies so truly with himself, it rubs off, right? It's you're having the conversations, you're seeing him eat something, you say, "Well, what's that green shake you're drinking right there?" "Oh, well, let me tell you. He made me eat I shouldn't say made,
Maybe.
offered me, and I tried a uh, vegan chocolate donut." Because I was like, "There's no way that's good." And it was 2 days in a row he brought them into the room. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way that's good, Gary." And he's like, "No, it really is. Try it." So of course I tried it and I was wrong. It was pretty good. And it's not something that I would naturally try, right? Those are simple things that are bringing the conversation in of what are we eating and putting into our bodies and what are the physical things we're doing to maintain our energy to accomplish what we need to.
And it is so true. And I'm so grateful. Gary is such a staunch proponent of the KW wellness community, of health and wellness in general. He's been talking on stage about his health regime for years now. Right? So it's great to see it starting to trickle down from leadership and into the market centers. There's simple things that we can even ask our vendors when they come in and they're offering to host the lunch. We can ask them, might you choose something a little bit healthier? Bring in salads and sandwiches instead of perhaps the big healthy or the big heavy pizzas and chicken wings. And we want to ensure that the food that we're fueling our teams with is helping to support them for the day. Right? Even donut choices, yeah, those are great. And there's options. There are options. You can have vegan, you can have gluten-free. It doesn't mean that we're saying, no, you can't have some of the foods that you enjoy the most. It's at what cost? If we're noticing a pattern between your diet and your energy levels, and even your mindset and your emotions, we want to explore it and see, might there be a different pathway or a different choice that's going to support your productivity for the day? This is something our life coaches actually coach a lot too, around diet, nutrition, and staying sustainable in the workplace, because it does foster a state of wellness, vitality, and longevity, not just in your business, but in your life too. Third tip is social. We know that real estate can be one of two things for people. It's usually one or the other. I've noticed it's really lonely or it's one big party. I've met very few people who find it somewhere in between. Yet these social connections help to foster your emotional support, resilience, happiness. They support mental health, and again, promote overall wellness and longevity. So if you're a solo agent, we want to ensure that you are finding ways to stay connected. And this can be as simple as joining some of the training centers or training programs that are showing up on your calendar. It can be sitting in with other agents who are solo and doing lead generation together. It could be forming a mastermind, joining a book club. Where inside of your market center can you find places to plug in? As we often say, where are your people? For teams, we often want to take you outside of the market center or outside of your office. Where can you be together? Where can you change the environment to have a different type of conversation? This could be a monthly lunch, or take your offsite to a really unique location. Change of environment, change of scenery helps create creativity in your thinking. These social connections are very helpful, and it's been proven that even for those who, once they begin over the age of 65, social connections are one of the top 3 keys to longevity. As you age, most of your social circles, unfortunately, begin to pass. It's important to continue to add and grow and foster new friendships in new relationships to keep your conversation skills at bay. It's also important to keep emotional relationships. What do you
You
think
know,
about
as
that,
we went
Liz?
when we went through lockdowns in 2020, right? Things were shut down. You can't go to dinner, you can't go to happy hours, you can't go to the office, can't go to stores, right? All of a sudden, we became almost prisoners in our own homes. Now, for people like me who work from home and are not generally social beings to begin with, first month I didn't even notice, right? Didn't even notice. By month two, starting to get a little itchy, wanting to get out of the house, just wanting to see other people, wanting to hang out with a friend, right? By month three, everybody was frantic to get out of their homes. You saw more people outside walking than you ever did. You saw more Zoom sessions with friends and family and happy hours and birthdays than ever before. Some people that set in the first week or two, very social people, that was an immediate need. For those of us that are not that social, that need didn't set in for a little while. Yet just imagine in our workplace if we revert to that again. If that was to happen, we may look at it and say, look, team happy hours aren't my thing. Oh, the fluffy stuff. Yet it's so crucial. And I think looking back at that time in 2020, the second quarter of 2020 really illuminated that even the most antisocial of us still need that for our mental health, our connections, our relationships. People want to be around people and in relationships, even if it's not the party, like you say. That connection and that social being with those people that we work with on a daily basis, I think that's so crucial.
It absolutely is. It's that need, that human connection, it's one of our most basic needs. No one was brought into this world alone. Even in the simple fact that when we were born with another person, our mother, there is an immediate connection. And through our lives, we're seeking that form of connection. So whether you identify as an introvert, an extrovert, a high I, a D, whatever it is that you label yourself as, it does not diminish the fact that we all crave connection on some level. Even business, there is a social connection. So when we look for these ways inside of our workplace, we want to ensure that we are creating a level of connection where people can be open and honest, right? Where they can come to you with any kind of challenges they might be having. Or they also know that, this is a place that supports my goals. If nothing else, this is somewhere that I can go to every day. They understand my goals, they're connected to my vision, and we can move as one. So that's really the importance of the social connection. It's to find unity and to find that opportunity to collaborate with another person. So find ways to bring social connections into your workplace. It can be a market center gathering, a quarterly get together. Summer's a great time. Consider planning a picnic, doing something outdoors if the weather permits it. If you're on a team retreat, now's a great time to start thinking, where am I going to do my offsite? What are we going to look for in the next 6 months? Start planning now. Start creating opportunities to come together and plan, have great conversations, because this is where the real magic begins, when we're able to actually be in unison and in connection with someone else. Financial well-being is important, not just because this is how we function through our business. There are studies that show that our financial wealth is connected to our mental health. There's a difference there. It doesn't mean that the more financial resources you have, the happier you are. Everyone has their own financial thermostat. So when you're able to connect to understanding what is the number each month, not for survival, for thriving. And when there's clarity on your thriving number, it connects to your well-being. When finances are off the table and it's not a question or a challenge, it allows you to think clearer. It improves productivity, allows you to create better decision making, and it also encourages others around you to actually aspire to be in a place where they can also enjoy financial success, whatever that means for them. But when we think about how do we create financial well-being, it goes back to on a team, those monthly 411s. How are we holding our team members accountable to the activities and the commitments that they're making that's going to support their goals? And when they're behind, how are we supporting them? Not just in the moment of making more calls or having more open houses. How are we looking at their finances with them? Being a partner in their life and saying, hey, it looks like the next 30, 60, 90 days, we're going to have less expected income than we projected. What changes can we make now that's going to set us up so your lifestyle doesn't feel as impacted? Where can we begin to trim the fat and not the boat? Market centers, it's the same. Where do we begin to pour into our people, into our teams, our top 20%, and even our middle? How are we ensuring that they are making the decisions that are supporting their life by design and making financial choices that support longevity in this career?
Kimberly, let's imagine I have a market center or a team and I'm working with folks, but I've never held them to a 411. That's not part of our routine. And these conversations aren't part of our regular business, in particular financial. What's a good way to open the door with somebody on a team or in a market center who you believe may be struggling, right? You see their production, you know that they're not necessarily making what we would consider thriving. If I've never had those conversations with that person, what's the easiest way to bring this to the table for a first conversation to open that door?
It's what we do in coaching, that care and candor. You let them know you care. I've noticed, or I've looked at your numbers, and I'm just curious. How is your business currently impacting you today? How is your current level of production supporting your overall goals for this year? It's coming from that curiosity. As well, the numbers on paper might say one thing, we don't know. They might have a spouse that's caring for them, right? They could have other sources of income. So we come from curiosity. And then if we find out that this is their sole income, or they are in a position where finances are not looking good, it's a bleak situation, that's where that candor comes in. What are we doing each day? What commitments are we committed to that's going to allow us to turn this around? And we know that real estate is a 90 to 120 day outcome. So what can we do now with your finances that's going to help keep you in production and keep you in business, keep your lights on? Without that conversation, we're essentially saying we don't care. And we're offering that agent or that associate a way out of the business. And we know that this is probably the most lucrative opportunity that they could have. They're not easy conversations, even as a coach.
They're not easy conversations. And that's, we find that when folks haven't had those, right? Kimberly and I are both coaches. We work with a lot of agents, a lot of teams on market centers. One of the things we find is that if we didn't start that relationship with that conversation, the longer it goes without that conversation, the more uncomfortable it becomes to open the door to that conversation, right? People say, well, we've never talked about that. We've worked together for 4 years. How do I do this? You just take the first step. I mean, if someone's worked with you for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they trust that you have their best interests in mind. Otherwise, they wouldn't work there still. The first step is just that, the first step.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And we know that finances are going to be crucial as we continue to move into this market. We're seeing less homes. We're seeing longer days on the market in some areas. We're seeing this rapid change in interest rates. So we seek to control the controllables. And what we can control is our own choices each day with how we spend our money. Jeannie Osnes in Profit Camp Office says, show me your money, show me how you spend your money, and I'll show you what your values are. Are we making the choices today that support not just that feel-good moment right now, that are supporting our next 30, 60, 90 days of runway? And community. A supportive community provides emotional backing, fosters belonging, aids stress management, and enhances overall well-being and life satisfaction. Much like what we have created here at KW Communities with KW Talent, KW Wellness. We've got so many, we have 15, 16 communities now online.
16.
16, where agents can tap in and find something that connects specifically to what's interests you. Community is one of the ways to create well-being. And when you find, again, your people, when you find like-minded people who you can grow with and will even challenge you, that's where we begin to thrive. That's also how we grow. So I invite you to consider joining a community, whether it's one of the amazing ones with KW Community, one within your own market center, or consider creating your own. Find a place where you feel like you have a voice and you can contribute at a high level and you feel valued. Because that is the overall meaning of well-being. That's where we begin to thrive.
Thank you, Kimberly. Just to wrap up, we've got about 2 minutes left here, and then we'll get everybody on their way. Where's the first place you start? I've never focused on wellness in my business. Where do I start, right? You've just given me 5 places that it can be. I'm not focusing on wellness for myself. I'm not focusing on wellness for my business or my people. How do I just get moving?
Yeah, great question. It's first starting with, what does wellness mean to you? And as you'll start to hear more and more, and Gary speaks to this as well, as longevity. What kind of life do you want to have? And it's really an internal conversation. Is it, if your life is working for you, great. How many days on this planet, if it was up to you, would you want to be here? And what are the choices that you're making today that's going to keep you sustainable through that process? So step one is, we always start with ourselves, because awareness is the first step to change. And when we become aware of what area of my life would I like to improve, and it's just like a 7 circles exercise, choose one area of wellness that you would like to improve. It could be mental, mindset, physical. It can be social connections, spirituality. It could be your work-life counterbalance. It could be the environment, or the environment that you work in, live in, play in. Find an area that you could improve, even if it was just by doing one more thing, and focus on that. Create a 66-day challenge out of it, and then begin to layer on from there.
As I sit here, realizing that I'm a little stiff sitting in this chair, I realize maybe I should put stretching on that agenda for me for this afternoon.
There you go.
Long hours have been hanging out in this chair lately, Kimberly.
Absolutely. Even if, get a stand-up desk, whatever it takes. It doesn't have to be something grandiose where you have to do any, this crazy, I'm going to train for a marathon. Unless that's your thing, great.
That's not my thing.
Yeah. Wellness can be as simple as, I'm going to have 8 glasses of water today, or I'm going to choose to have a different lunch that's going to make me feel better for the afternoon. It's the micro steps that begin to make macro changes. And when we connect to who we are and what's best for ourselves, it's amazing. It's amazing the results that begin to show up in all different areas of our life, especially in our business.
Kimberly, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And if our viewers are interested in finding out about KW Wellness or joining that community as part of one of their 5 wellness in the workplace tips, how can they find you and how can they find the wellness community?
Amazing. The best way to contact is at the email wellness@kw.com and learn more about KW Wellness at kwwellnesscommunity.com.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching this today. If you guys need anything, you can reach out to Kimberly or myself. We'll be happy to help, and we will see you soon.